Hey everyone, Church Witch here. I'm just trying to get set up here on my phone now. I could not get my laptop to work and pull up this program, and I was like, I don't know what the heck is going on, but hold on one second. I'm trying to get shit set up. What's up, guys? How's everyone handling the apocalypse today? Okay, I'll let you guys join for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna grab a candle and some incense. Make a little offering. Light the candle. Call on fire. Purify. Bring in the air element too. I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling the 29 degrees of Moon in Scorpio right now. And it is like, ooh, you know, that dark bucking cloud, that Pluto swirl cloud. I feel that. How are you guys holding up? Let me know. So this time that we're going to spend together is a little different than what I usually do when I go live. It's been a hot minute since I've been live. As you can see, I'm in a new house. I have moved. Like, everything has fucking changed. Like, I feel so ungrounded right now. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm literally having a hard time staying in my body. Like, that Pisces square, that square to Neptune is making me want to escape humanity so bad. I can't. My soul is like, get me the fuck out of here. These people are awful. All my Pisces people, water signs out there. I feel ya. So, all right, I'm just lighting this briquette that doesn't want to light. Almost. Y'all are being quiet out there. I'm not seeing anything. Somebody say something. Somebody say something. I am a response-oriented generating manifester. I work best with responses. So tell me what's going on out there. I need some feedback to push up against. Talk to me. What's going on? So, today hi, Heidi. Oh, Heidi. Hold on one second. Look, I just got it. Heidi made me this and sent it to me. Isn't it amazing? It's got constellation on it. I love it. Love it. Okay, now I see people talking. Hi, Eleanor. This is a little different than incense. It is, I have a shell that I found in a river, and then there's a charcoal briquette, and then there is this like blend that I made and some other people made that like we all blended together. So it's got like sage, tobacco, palo santo, rose petals, rosemary, all kinds of stuff that is a pleasing aroma to the sky god, sky daddy, Saturn, which we are feeling. I'm sure everyone is feeling constricted right now. So, all right, let's go ahead and sort of drop into this space. As you guys, like, unless you're literally living under a rock, you are very aware of the fact that our world as we know it is imploding. And the thing is like my guides, which I didn't understand, they were my guides, but they showed me this when I was early in my deconstruction. They were showing me the collapse. which I didn't understand words like patriarchy then or paradigms or anything. That was like 5 years ago, and I didn't understand. And now that there's like a language to it, I'm like, oh, I see, right? And so I remember one of the big teachings that I learned was through the Hopi nations, and they taught on what they call like the fifth world, okay? And I remember this being, and I was still a Christian at this time, I remember being like, that is like Christ's return, right? That is heaven on earth. And it really opened my mind to realizing, and I couldn't name it exactly, like I was still very like 3D constructed in that sense of like, the puzzle pieces must all fit in this thing in order for me to have faith and believe in this thing, right? I didn't have any understanding that it could just be like whatever, and so I remember learning that the Hopi nations, they believe in 5 worlds and that we are ascending into the 5th world, and essentially it's a shift in consciousness. And so consciousness is it's like the mind. Conscious thought is like what we know, okay? So it's like when I say something and you're already aware of it, that means that you're conscious of it, all right? So there's an awareness and there's a memory to it. Now, with the subconscious, it is something that we're not aware of until it's named, and then we have to like identify it and then understand it and like sit with it, right? Like we're like, oh, light bulb, that's shadow work, right? So when we shine a light on something that's in the dark, the subconscious, and then we make it conscious, that's light, okay? So that is what we call spiritual alchemy, of making something dark golden, okay? So when we have like our sinister shadow, the thing that like we repress and like it's just ugly, right? Like it's like, oh, it makes you want to vomit. Then we have this golden shadow, this higher understanding of like the things that we suppress but we do for whatever reason or other. Like it's not as suppressed. This is like also called the golden shadow. Golden shadow can also be represented by other people. And so it has been like it's just been a very weird week, especially like knowing that there's like a massive eclipse coming tomorrow, but also really wanting to respect and honor, like muting myself as a person with a white face and very much sitting in a place of privilege. It has just been a little confusing. And so it's important to just name the thing, right? And so the thing is that it's Gemini season, right? And so Gemini season is the twins. It is confliction. So if you know a lot of Geminis, like hug your Gemini friends after this season, because like it's fucking intense, right? So Gemini is always like 2 aspects, right? There is a duality. And so what's really important to understand is that wherever the sun is, the sun, hi, Ronald. Oh, Alyssa, I see you. You're talking a lot. I can't read that fast. Hold on. It's the revolution. Yeah, it is. You love you some Sky Daddy. Sorry, I'm scrolling back for a second. I love you guys too. Love you guys. And so what was I saying? God, fucking Gemini season. Okay. So there's so like many things to go over in this period of time, because like number one, Gemini season is just, it's an air element, and it is the air of air. And what I mean by that is that each sign is a little bit like the one before it, unless it's the one in the middle. Okay. And I know like this is like complicated astrology, but basically like, Gemini is the air of air, and Virgo is the earth of air, and Aquarius is the water of air, right? So it's alchemy. But it's like an air sign, okay? And right now we have Venus retrograde in Gemini. Today the sun is in a conjunction, meaning it has met itself. It is like an exact conjunction to the sun. The sun shines a light on things, on whatever the issue is, and then Venus brings the issue through of like value systems, money, and like appearance, very much the appearance. When it is retrograde, she wants to hide. So the fact that we're wearing masks right now is really, it's very interesting. And then the fact that like the appearance of our skin is really bringing things up to the surface, and like we can't hide from it. Like Venus retrograde won't let us hide from it. And so we need to kind of like scroll back a little bit. Like we could scroll way back with astrology, but I'm not going to go into that deep of a lesson right now because of the fact that I want to be thoughtful with my words. And I want to be really bringing like awareness and tools, because a lot of people are like, I'm getting messages like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And it's like, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm sitting and listening and observing and absorbing and reflecting and taking responsibility like everybody else. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, I am not a person of color. I have sat in privilege my whole life. So it is like, I don't know. I'm paying attention. And so the goal is that I have right now is to be a teacher. And as a teacher, my job is to shine lights on ignorance, right? Like, not necessarily in this group. If you're in this group, then there's a level of work that you have done that you're already stepping out of ignorance. But just in general, it's like shining light on things so that we can take steps and make conscious choices to grow the consciousness of our planet. Because I'll tell you what, like I have an Aries moon and Scorpio rising. I'm really quick to anger. I'm really quick to be like, fuck these guys. Like, let's kick their asses. Like I have that in me. Like, let's be honest. Like me is like, I'm like, get me out there. I just happen to have my kids the week that all the riots are going, and I'm in the middle of a divorce. And so I have to be really mindful with what I do the weeks I have my children to make sure that I'm able to keep my children. That's a whole separate personal matter. I probably shouldn't have said out loud. But anyways, my point is that my goal is to just provide awareness so that we can make conscious choices, so we can elevate the consciousness of this motherfucking planet, okay? Like, it is the elevation of the planet, right? So, knowing all of this, what are we going to do about it, okay? So let's go ahead and lay out some of these major transits. Knowing that we are sitting on less than 24 hours away from a South Node eclipse, okay? So a South Node eclipse means that it is a release point, like a major karmic release point that is like a 20 to 18 year cycle, okay? So we want to like look back to when the last time this shit went down, which we'll get to in a minute, because the last time this shit went down was when the Twin Towers fell, okay? So let that resonate for just a moment, right? The next piece is that it is a lunar eclipse, not a solar eclipse, okay? So where we're dropping in is in the full moon, not the new moon, all right? The new moon is like this aspect of like a solar eclipse where it really shines this massive light, and it's like this initiation, right? When we come into eclipse season in a lunar eclipse conjunct the South Node, this is a massive fucking purge. It is a purge, a purge, a purge. And then the fact that it is conjunct the 18th mansion of the moon, which is all about building, not destroying, building, okay? This is an important piece to understand in the energetics. It doesn't mean that we're not crushing the patriarchy. Fuck yeah, we're crushing the patriarchy. Fuck the patriarchy. Fuck that shit. But at the same time, we are building a new future, okay? So as the paradigm crumbles, we are like integrating this new one, all right? So it's important to understand that what we are doing as a collective is the most complicated form of magic there is, known as paradox magic, all right? It is the most complicated, and I'll tell you why. Because what it is that the conscious mind can only hold two things, all right? It can only hold choice A or choice B, one or the other. And the way that choice A and choice B has been over time, especially around issues of race or gender or sex or whatever it is like, A, this is bad and sinful, and like we should fight this war and we should incite our law, or B, like passive aggressive, like don't pay attention to it, like, and it just passes. So what happens is that over history, we just keep doing the same fucking cycle, okay? And so what the new paradigm is about is the third way, which is why, we're talking about emergent strategy, third way collective magic. And so what happens with the third way Carl Jung and Marion Woodman came up with this concept. And that is the fact that the longer that you can hold the tension of the opposites, okay? You can hold choice A and choice B, which is like, fuck this shit, like, burn the buildings, whatever that thing is. And then the other, which is like, I better be fucking quiet and just like, whatever, or don't look at it. Don't be a part of the solution or the problem, right? Just like passive aggressive. When you hold those two and you sit in the very awkward center, the longer that you can hold it, the more potent the magic. And that is where we are in history, my friends. Like, we are in the third way. It has not been birthed yet. Like, we are literally just like sitting there, right? And so when we sit there, what happens is that time weaving magic, which is what that's what I'm involved in, is paradox, time weaving magic, emergent strategy, like birthing the new paradigm, all of us fractals, like making this conscious shift towards the conscious collective. Because once we get past 50%, which we're past 50%, then what happens is we start to find this division, and we're there. And then the more people that wake up, the faster that we get to the other side, which is the paradigm shift. Okay. So like right now we're like right in the middle. And like the more conscious people become, the more we start to tip the scales over to the next paradigm. But we're right here and still in the middle of the scales. And the universe is like popping our asses in the oven or in the microwave at this point. And she's like, hurry up. All right, hurry up. And so what is happening is we are feeling this massive sense of collective pressure. And so lunar south node eclipses are not a time necessarily. Okay, like do your homework. I'm not going to tell you what the fuck to do. This is your job. But it is like, understand that it is about healing. It is about restoration. It is about listening. And it is about rebuilding new ways. Okay, so the south node is the release point. The north node is the destiny. The north node is in Gemini. So the fact that we had Mercury move through Gemini, Venus retrograde in Gemini, the sun's in Gemini, like all of that in the start of the end, not even the end. Like, I don't even know what happened to the pandemic. Does anybody know what happened to the fucking pandemic? Like, whatever, that's a whole nother thing. But it's like the Neptune square that it is involved in is also making things just feel very like confusing. And just confusing, okay? And so when Neptune is in its highest, it is dissolving. It is like consciousness. It is compassion. It is like the fucking Dalai Lama, okay? When it is not in its highest expression, it is like a tsunami that just comes in and just like grabs shit and pulls it out to the ocean and dissolves it. And you look and you're just like, I don't even know what happened there. So what I'm calling people to in terms of like the work is like, we have to see the shadow. And the thing is that, and think about your deconstruction of your ego, think about your deconstruction of your religion, right? Like, we don't even know how to break something down until the mirror is there, and then we have something to push against, and we're like, oh my God, I did that, right? Like, I had no idea, I wasn't conscious. And that's what's happening. As above, so below. That's what's happening to the whole fucking collective right now. And so imagine the first time you met your shadow. Imagine how awful that was. That's happening collectively around the whole fucking globe. Sitting on top of 40 million jobs lost in just this country alone. A global pandemic, okay? And the fucking Antichrist himself sitting in our Oval Office, right? Like, shit's weird. So what's happening is that, you know, I saw some people who were like, I had really bad dreams. I can't sleep. I can't, like, why does it feel so heavy? That's what's going on, okay? So when Saturn came into a conjunction with the South Node, conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, Capricorn rules big government and collective power systems, okay? Pluto in Capricorn is fucking Wall Street, okay? It is fucking Wall Street. And so what happened when that conjunction happened on an eclipse in January 10th of this year, it initiated where we're at, which is a purge, like a massive purge. And so what are we doing? We are now like doing collective shadow work, which is naming the evil and the atrocity of everything, every single person of color or anybody that is anywhere on the gender spectrum, or it doesn't, just the marginalized. And if you're not a white person, essentially, than anyone, right? And so what we're doing is we are talking about decolonizing. We are talking about breaking down capitalism. We are talking about breaking down patriarchal structures. And so, when the North Node moved into Cancer last year, this was the beginning of the feminine, the divine feminine rising. And when people are like, well, the mother and compassion, I'm like, do you fucking know the goddesses? Like, the goddesses are fierce. The goddesses a lot of times have blood, like, dripping out of their mouths. Like, this is fierce, radical, like, change. And so I kept pulling Kali. I just kept pulling Kali and Kali and Kali. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, Kali, like, you are here. And Kali is here. And guess what Kali does? Kali takes a sword of truth and she slashes away illusions and egos. And she does it with love and compassion because she knows that all humanity are her children. She doesn't have like oh, you're my favorite because you have white skin. Like, she doesn't care. She is for truth. And so she is like blazing this thing where she's just like, no more illusion, right? So the fact that Venus is in a square to Neptune the whole time that Venus is in retrograde, it is like the illusions are coming off, okay? So that's just like the very base, the very baseline, okay? And so it's important that you understand, like, the more that I deepen into my work, the more that I realize, like, I am really speaking through a channeled space. And eventually, like, when at some point when life feels like has space again, I'll go into moving into she, they pronouns. But essentially, like, my guides and my ancestors are very much the ones that are like talking to me about these things, because in these places I still feel very ignorant. And I'm just like, oh my God, that too. Like, so it's important that you understand, like, when I'm doing this work, like, I am really moving from a channeled space, and I want to give them a lot of credit as well, my ancestors and all those guides. So I feel them like right here, and I'm like, I see you. But anyways, okay, so Gemini season. The sun is in conjunction to Venus retrograde today, square Neptune. So, it's also, Venus is also in a square to Mars and Pisces, which is also in Neptune. And I don't think I really need to go into it a lot more, but you might be having conflicts in relationships. They could be personal relationships. They could be like people blocking you, or you unfriending like friends you've had forever, because of like disagreements about all of the things that are going on right now. That's a lot of like that energy, just so you know. And then Neptune is going to station retrograde on June 23rd, 2 days before Venus stations direct. Now, the other aspect of another retrograde that's coming in like just shy of 2 weeks is Mercury retrograde. So in the midst of all of these things, I really haven't even like posted on the fact that Mercury is now in Cancer and not in Gemini anymore. And Mercury in Cancer is like very, very, very empathic. Okay, so if you've been feeling like the waterworks are here and like you feel everything, that is Mercury in Cancer. Okay, like it is like its form of communication is emotion and sensing, right? And so when Mercury's in Cancer, the ability to empath is significantly higher than just about any other sign. The only other places would be like Pisces, because I would say Libra, but Libra, when Mercury moves through Libra, it becomes very armored. It moves very much into the Scorpion with like the soft, gooey inside, and the like hard exterior. So when the moon is in Cancer, same with the moon, but when Mercury is in Cancer, you might notice that like your stomach hurts. Like I've been bleeding for like almost 2 weeks in the middle of this, like my womb hurts. You might notice that like all of a sudden your uterus hurts or your breasts hurt or your stomach is hurting. And that is your body communicating with you. It also means that you really need to take some salt baths, right? Like sit in salt. And you know, I've been following Old Ways on Instagram, and they are amazing. So I believe their pronouns are he, him, but I'm not, I'd have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure they're he, him. But you would want to go over there, and he puts up stuff on baths that are like spiritual baths that are amazing all the time. And he is very, very, very practiced in all sorts of road openers and collective spell work, and really, really powerful healer that I know of. So all of that being said, I would say that the eclipse tomorrow is, because it's South Node, it is an ending, okay? It is the closure of something. It is the closure of an 18 to 20-year-old story. And it is also a closure of wherever 15 degrees of Sagittarius is in your natal chart, okay? It is a new beginning at the same time, because with every ending is a new beginning. So what happens is 2 weeks later, we have our solar eclipse. And I will drop into all of that when we get there, because I feel like we're going way too over. And, you know, just understanding that the universe is trying to birth herself again. And this is the shift. This is the shift that we've all been talking about. This is consciousness speeding up. And in order to heal, I mean, we say it in the somatic healing community all the time, and that's like, once you name it, then you can heal it. And that's what's happening. We are naming it, and then we're going to heal it. And, you know, yesterday I was listening to NPR, and there was this amazing woman of color that is, she's a teacher in Portland, and you know, she's not an astrologer. She is a teacher for healing and I believe psychotherapy. And she was, you know, relating everything that's going on to a volcano. And I thought that was really insightful and interesting, because so much of it is understanding that this is Pluto, and Pluto is a volcano, and America is entering its Pluto return. And what happens in a Pluto return is 248 years of fuckery coming up to the surface. And what happens in a volcano is a carbon buildup. And so it's like, what is the toxicity that has been, this whole country has been like built on? What are these structures? What are these things? And they are just like rising to the surface, and they have been for hundreds of years. And like, now we're dealing with it, right? Like now it's being seen. And one of the things that she said was like, okay, well, what do you do, you know, when a volcano goes off? And it's like, you know, you deal with the devastation. You know, people are mourning and crying, and they've lost their possessions, and like that's what's happening is people are fucking angry, and they need to mourn. They need to mourn. They deserve to mourn. Like they deserve to mourn, and we deserve to watch and witness and hold it, because people of color have been holding this forever. It just, yeah. And so what do we do after that is then we make a prevention plan. How do we not fucking do this again? And then we change, right? And so this is not going to happen overnight. But it is definitely, we're due for an eruption, you know? And the fact that Eris, she is the goddess of destruction and upheaval. She is the sister to Mars in Aries. Eris, she says, take it to the streets, is in a square to Pluto, retrograde in Capricorn, conjunct Jupiter. And so the thing is that, like, yes, we are hitting the streets and all of that, but that square, that constriction is up against Pluto in Capricorn, and that's like that power. And so like they're just hitting that power structure. Like that's where they feel like still constricted. And so I'm really interested to see, you know, like what this eclipse season is going to look like. We have 6 this year, not 4. We have 6. 2020 and half of 2021. I mean, here's the thing is that like, we think that Saturn moving into Aquarius is something. Wait till fucking Pluto moves into Aquarius in 4 years and Uranus is in a square. Like, no, this is the revolution. This is the new normal. Like, change is here. Change is here. Embrace it. Learn how to fucking garden. Learn how to make a fire. Like, all of those things. Like, don't lose your mind. Don't lose your mind. Because if you lose your mind, like, one of the main things that my guides told me about North Node and Gemini is that Gemini is about the mind, and it is about mind control. It is about learning how to direct your awareness instead of your awareness directing you. Again, it is consciousness. It is mindfulness. It is understanding that just because you have a thought doesn't mean that that's what you need to act on. It means you need to hold yourself accountable in these times. And that is what Saturn is about, is responsibility, restriction, maturity, and accountability. Okay. In the midst of all of this is also compassion. Like, so hard to hold right now, but it is also compassion. I was at Target yesterday and I was looking for books to be able to read to my kids during this period of time. And I came across this book by the Dalai Lama called The Seed of Compassion. And I like wept in Target. It was so beautiful. But it is just remembering that, like, in these strange times, that compassion is also incredibly necessary as holy rage, as necessary as reform, as necessary as riots, like all of it. There's space for all of it, right? So I know that what I'm stepping into is really trying to notice my reactivity and my lack of ground. When there's so many planets in air signs, it's really easy to get ungrounded and come up out of your body. And so I'm committing to, like, trying to ground back down and spend time in nature and really try to move back into the practice of like response and reflection instead of reaction. Because with all of these planets retrograde, it is all a review period. And we have a shit ton to review here. And so it's like when you just jump, right? Like when you just jump into that reaction. One of my favorite sayings is let the bridges I burn, light the way forward. So I don't know, like, it's just see if you can sit with like your ability to reflect or respond or be like, wow, thank you for that reflection. I needed that in this period of time. Okay. So just understand that the lunar eclipse is going to draw you strongly inward over the next few days. We see the effects of, the eclipses in 6-month patterns. This eclipse period is bringing closure to the eclipses that went down in July of last year when Mercury was retrograde during that period of time as well. So go back to like July 2nd through the 29th of 2019 and see what was going down over there. This is the resolution of that eclipse period, okay? Ask your crystals if they want to go outside tomorrow for the full moon eclipse. My crystals are like, I don't know, it's a little scary out there. So, talk to your crystals and your plant babies and understand that the energy of this eclipse portal is very potent to build. And in order to build, one of my favorite sayings Kali told me is destruction before creation. So if something has been released, trust that it was for your highest good and allow yourself to move into the energy of what it looks like to rebuild. Hopefully we will all step into this collective space of really directing a lot of our energy towards the consciousness of all beings, to see the shadow that is humanity, and to step into doing better, right? To step into owning their shit and doing better. All of us, right? All of us. Okay, guys, that's all I got for you guys right now. I love you all very, very much. I hope that you're doing okay, and I'll talk to you later, okay?